And now I would like to open the stage to the next winner of the SDN Awards for Best Organizational Impact in the Nonprofit and Public Sector, Bryanne Gilkinson. Welcome, Bryanne.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here today. We are absolutely thrilled to be a 2021 Global Service Design Award winner. My name is Bryanne. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share the efforts that we've been making at the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board to transform our service experiences. What I'm about to share with you is the work of an incredibly dedicated, fully in-house design and digital team built from the ground up over the last several years. It includes researchers, strategists, UX designers, product managers, leadership, and of course, service designers. So while I am the one speaking today, I'm speaking on behalf of many passionate and impactful team members who made this happen. To start off with, I want to give you a bit of background as to who we are. At the WSIB, we provide no-fault insurance to over 5 million people and 300,000 employers across the province of Ontario in Canada. This makes us one of the largest insurance organizations in North America. We are governed by legislation, and put very simply, if you get hurt at work, we cover your salary and medical expenses and support you in your recovery while you're off. Our work is really, really important. Often the people we're serving are going through one of the toughest periods in their life. They're scared, they're in pain, they're under a lot of pressure, and they're unsure of what the future holds. We need to get this right. At the WSIB, our brand statement has been here to help. But for a while, we weren't helping people in the way that they needed and wanted us to. As an organization, we are over 100 years old. And so over the last century, as you can imagine, legislative and regulatory changes, policies, processes, and legacy technology have converged, compounded, and ultimately piled on top of each other. And over time, this caused organizational silos to deepen, an increase in back-end workarounds, and ultimately a decline in customer satisfaction began to emerge. To help you understand what this looked like, I want to give you a sense of what it was like to be on the receiving end of our services 3 years ago. This is Emma, one of the personas generated through an ethnography completed in 2018. Emma is a 24-year-old graduate student and part-time server at a restaurant. One day at work, she slipped and fell and she fractured her wrist. She knows nothing about who we are, and she found dealing with us to be very disruptive and entirely unintuitive. To give you just a few examples, Emma was constantly playing phone tag with her case manager because she was always receiving calls while she was in class, resulting in a whole bunch of voicemails going back and forth. And Emma didn't have a phone plan with daytime minutes. And so as a result of that, dealing with us, she ended up racking up a bunch of phone bills and costs that she otherwise wouldn't have had to incur. She also found herself Googling where she could find a fax machine and then taking an Uber to that location in order to send us documents. And lastly, she found it ridiculous that she had to wait on a letter to get information from us. She told us, who mails things anymore? We're in the age of apps and emailing. You get things in 10 seconds, not 10 days. I'd also like to introduce you to Stuti, a young mother from Sri Lanka who had recently moved to Canada with her children. When describing our service experience, she said, "They say everything in detail, but tell me nothing. Help me. I don't need this paper." The story was becoming clear. Using outdated channels of communication and moving away from empathy-centered service had led us to become slow, confusing, and ultimately less helpful, living up to the stereotypes that people have of bureaucratic organizations. We were losing our way, and people were losing patience. Change was needed, but change in an organization like this is incredibly difficult. I can't emphasize that enough. The WSIB confronted the challenge head-on, and a major service transformation program was launched. Very quickly, we started to lay the tracks, so to speak, to get from where we were to where we were trying to go. One of the most important things we did initially as the service design team was inform the design of the broader transformation. We put customer research at the forefront, and we ran it in parallel with the development of our operating model, ensuring that our insights were feeding into that work. Once the operating model was solidified, service design then took the reins, grounding ourselves in the research and working collaboratively over 16 months to develop and architect a new vision for how the WSIB would deliver services in the future. As different phases of the service experience came to life, we embedded within our process and technology teams to support the redesign of processes and the development of technology solutions to enable this future vision. Today, we continue to test new product and service experiences in a simulation space we built that we call Model Office. But let's start from the beginning. Back in 2016, when we first began our research, we didn't know what our problems were. We didn't know what needs we weren't meeting from the perspective of the people we serve. And perhaps most significantly, as an organization, we didn't have an end-to-end view of how our services were being experienced. So we built an in-house research practice and we listened. Since 2016, design researchers within the service design team have conducted 40 research studies involving more than 550 customers, directly interviewing them or observing their interactions for approximately 1 to 3 hours each. We've also done deep dives on more vulnerable populations, including linguistic minorities, individuals who have experienced catastrophic injuries, and individuals who require additional support to travel. To deliver this work, we got out of the building. We went with people across the province in their homes, with their families, in taxi cabs and doctors' offices and train stations. We heard about their experiences with the WSIB and how our services fit within their lives. The people on the receiving end of our services also kept text and photo entries, which you can see as an example of here in the middle photo. That's a photo diary. And as a team, we did our own walk a mile immersion, experiencing our own services firsthand. We let the insights guide us. And from those insights, we found unique and compelling ways to communicate the stories of our customers. As one example of this, we have transformed the experiences that people have using our travel services into an immersive, playable board game, which is what you can see here. Along with many employees and leaders, our chief operating officer at the time and his entire executive team played this board game. And our COO couldn't even finish it. He raised up his hands midway through and he said, "That's enough. We need to fix this. How soon can we fix this?" We synthesized over 1,000 hours of customer interviews and identified 4 primary pain points, which manifested at different points along the claims lifecycle. At a very high level, those were that people spent a lot of time waiting for us to do something, payment was taking too long, our processes were complicated, and disagreements about decisions took a long time to resolve. After immersing in the research, employees from across the organization reframed these pain points as design challenges, which you can see here. Because the size and the scope of the transformation was so large, it was critical that we operated in lockstep with our process team. What you see here is an articulation of how we aligned our research to the future state operating model. And then, taking inspiration from relay races, we undertook a systematic approach to redesigning sequential, quote unquote, legs of the service experience. The 4 legs represent the core phases in the life of a claim, beginning with the simplest journey and progressing to the most complicated based on our operating model and our customer research. Finally, you can see at the bottom, the process redesign workshops were then aligned to the associated service phases, ensuring that everything that came out of our service design work served as the starting point for a detailed process design. It was crucial that participants in our service design workshops felt empowered to generate a new vision for the WSIB. A lot of effort was put into building a safe space away from the rules, restrictions, and hierarchy prevalent in the organization, while still operating within important legal and technology constraints, among many, many others. To effectively reimagine our services, we needed everyone to think outside of the proverbial box. And that they certainly did. Our workshops explored our customer research in detail and facilitated the generation of hundreds of new concepts and ideas to improve our services. Workshops engaged staff from upstream and downstream of the service, along with employees from enabling areas such as IT, policy, and compliance. Altogether, well over 150 staff and leaders were engaged in the co-design of the future experience. The most promising ideas were prototyped in a myriad of ways. Participants created physical, digital, and service prototypes at varying levels of fidelity, using different materials and modalities to demonstrate the proposed customer experience. These prototypes, including end-to-end storyboards of the future experience, were tested with internal staff and external customers. Over 86 hours of concept testing was completed with customers across 6 different languages. The feedback generated from testing informed iterations on the future journey and enabled workshop participants to build the associated service blueprints. Following the conclusion of the service design work, a consolidated end-to-end journey map was created that merged steps from 12 design sprints in order to display the full future service experience from the beginning to the end of the claim. This map is now used as a North Star for the organization and continues to drive a shared understanding of the vision for the future. I'll also point out that what you can see here is that the future service experience is not a single path or a straight line. Our approach was designed to capture various routes through our service to account for individual needs and circumstances. We considered the outputs of our service design work to be hypotheses. Sure, we had tested the concepts and improved the designs based on a ton of feedback internally and externally. But how could we really know what the entire experience was going to feel like for customers and employees? There were so many moving pieces, it was impossible to capture them all on a storyboard or in a wireframe. So to answer that question, we built a simulation space that we called Model Office as a working prototype of the future service experience. Model Office integrates the people, process, and technology elements of a service across front stage and backstage touchpoints, iteratively testing them against real research-based scenarios within a simulated work environment. Services are simulated at increasing levels of fidelity throughout the design, development, and delivery lifecycle, ensuring that we ultimately deliver a cohesive customer experience. The simulations allow us to test assumptions baked into our future service designs. They allow us to close design gaps and improve change management and training strategies for both our staff and our customers while mitigating project risks. Customers, frontline employees, and managers participate in these simulations, while cross-disciplinary project team members observe in real time from a remote location, which you can see here pictured on the far right. When COVID hit, we moved our physical simulations online and Model Office into a fully virtual experience. To date, we have completed 40 hours of service simulations, and they have been incredibly helpful in improving our products and services before they go live. They have also been impactful in our efforts to build trust and generate excitement with our employees and the people we serve. Here are a few sentiments that have been shared with us. I'll read the first one because I think it really gets at why we all do what we do as service designers. A frontline employee who participated in a service simulation told us, "I learned how innovative WSIB can really be because I think this is amazing, that you are taking perspectives from all different levels of a claim and trying to understand how we can make this work for everyone. I really learned that it takes a lot of collaboration." As part of this work, we also developed a prioritization framework to determine what the first stage of the transformation would look like. We worked closely with leaders from across the organization to populate the framework with clear criteria and scoring definitions. One thing that we found to be important was that we chose not to have the concepts evaluated and prioritized individually. We didn't want to end up with a collection of concepts that on their own were great, but when put together, delivered a disjointed experience. We also didn't want concepts that were important from an inclusivity perspective to be deprioritized due to perceived complexity or otherwise. So we went about a process of creating what we called packages of concepts across each stage of a claim. And it was these packages or portfolios, which you see here represented as options, it was these that were evaluated through our framework, not the individual concepts within them. Each package was curated by our team to deliver a cohesive and inclusive end-to-end experience, ensuring that no matter what got prioritized, we, as the service design team, would be comfortable with the outcome from a customer experience perspective. So, what has been the impact of all of this work? As service designers, we are now looked to as strategic advisors on everything that affects our customers. Product and service changes are now derived directly from our future service designs, and the digital team uses them as the foundation for their product roadmap. Recognizing the value of service design, our chief executives mandated that all customer-facing products and services must run through our team and customer testing prior to approval. This ensures that all products and services align to our future service design and meet the needs of our customers. And perhaps most significantly, this work has triggered a cultural shift in the organization. Without any prompting, executives and employees across the organization are increasingly invoking our customer personas by name in a genuine desire to keep them at the forefront of all decisions. Frequently reaching out and asking us, what do our customers think about this issue or that idea? More tangibly, over the last 3 years, we've released 11 digital products in support of the future service experience. And in fact, the very first product we delivered ensures that people like Emma will never have to travel and incur costs to send us information ever again. They can now do it from wherever they are, whenever they want. Since that product release, we have received over 1.7 million documents digitally rather than by fax or mail, reducing our environmental footprint by over 5 million sheets of paper. This chart gives you a sense of what this has meant at an organizational level. At the beginning of 2019, right around the time our first product was released, 77% of all documents being sent to the WSIB were arriving by fax or mail. Fast forward less than 3 years later, and we now receive about 60% of our documents digitally, which enables them to go straight to the claim file without any human touch. With anywhere from 200 to 250,000 documents being sent to the WSIB every single month, the impact of that shift has been significant. In 2020, we released the most transformational digital solution ever delivered by our organization, a secure online portal for people with injuries and illnesses. Because of it, over 50,000 people are now accessing their claim information online and sending us secure messages rather than having to call us during our business hours to get questions answered, and if you're like Emma, incurring costs while doing so. This, along with other product and service improvements, have eliminated 140,000 phone calls and delivered over $3 million saved in administrative costs on an annual basis. We're incredibly proud of all of these outcomes. But before I close, I want to bring us back to the emotional impact of what we all do as service designers, because I think that can sometimes get lost in all the numbers. 3 years after we heard from Emma that we were too slow, and from Stuti that we weren't helpful and didn't seem to care, one of the people we serve took the time to send us this note. You say online, but I felt the human connection with online. Every person I emailed got right back to me, really helping me, making me feel cared about, not just a claim number. I am grateful beyond words to you. Thank you for making a scary and difficult situation not so, for standing by me and supporting me. Thank you for all of your support. This is why we do what we do. Thank you for the opportunity to share our story and our ongoing journey. I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you so much for that, Bryanne. And it's nice to see all of the quotes from having implemented the project. That's always my favorite part of anything, just to kind of come back with the feedback. So and congratulations again to you and all the winners. And I'm excited to have more of a dialogue in just a bit.